Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
But who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And what he do?
And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, and I'm certified both in criminal law and criminal trial law. I'm a specialist in the area of criminal defense. So we're reacting today to Sidney Royal Selby, a.k.a. Desiigner. And he was arrested recently for showing his wee-wee on the plane. But before we get to that, this is brought to you by eSign.com. eSign.com is an effective way to remotely do business. So you go to the App Store and you download the app. You should always have the app on hand because you never know when you're going to need it. So let's say you're sitting in a holding cell at the airport and you get one phone call. You talk to your mother because you are detained for inappropriately showing your member to other people and on the airplane, and so your mother needs to hire somebody for you, and she can't come to Minnesota, so what does she do? She calls a lawyer. The lawyer e-signs a document to her, because if it's not e-signed, no one's going to sign, right? And so she signs a e-sign document, a retainer. She gets you a lawyer. Now you're good to go, and you get out. Everything's cool. So I use e-sign all the time when I have a client that's out of state, just like this situation, or if I have somebody that just can't come to the office, or if you want to ink a deal quickly. It's an effective way to remotely do business. Like I said, if it's not e-sign, no one signs. So let's go backwards. Let's go for read what Desiigner's statement was that he put out. For the past few months, I have not been okay. And I have been struggling to come to terms with what is going on. While overseas for a concert I performed at, I had to be admitted to the hospital. I was not thinking clearly. They gave me meds, and I had to hop on a plane home. I am ashamed of my actions that happened on that plane. I landed back to the United States, and I'm admitting myself to a facility to help me. I will be canceling all of my shows and any obligations until further notice. Mental health is real, guys. Please pray for me. If you're not feeling like yourself, please get help. Well, that is an incredibly positive message. This is a situation where he doesn't have a defense. So, there's just no defense to this because there's witnesses that saw the protruding member. And so what does he do? That is, guarantee you, that's 100% the right thing to do. If he's got some issues, he's got some issues. But what happened? Well, I had the complaint, the federal complaint. So whenever you're on an airplane, you are subject to federal law. So whatever you do, if you break the law, you've seen those videos where people get all pissed off and they get on a fight in an airplane, they get arrested by a marshal, or they get arrested by airport cops or whatever. You're under the federal jurisdiction of the FAA at that point, and you are committing a federal crime if you're doing something illegal in the airplane. So on April 17, 2023, I became aware of an incident. This is a federal agent that wrote this up, involving Sidney Royal Selby III. On April 7, 2023, Selby obscenely and indecently exposed his genitals and masturbated in a public place. The offense took place on Delta Airlines Flight 120. I learned of the incident involving Selby at approximately 10:15 a.m. He was on a flight going from Tokyo to the United States, landing on a Delta flight in Minneapolis. He was sitting in Delta 1. That's those pods, right? So after Delta Airlines Flight 120 took off from Tokyo, Flight Attendant 1 was providing services to the Delta 1 cabin. Would you like some drinks, sir? What? And which is more commonly known as first class. Selby was a passenger in the Delta 1 cabin and was seated at row 1J. About 60 to 90 minutes after takeoff, Flight Attendant 1 noticed Selby was outside of his sweatpants. Flight Attendant 1 told Selby, no. Selby then put his penis back in his pants. About 5 minutes later, Flight Attendants 1 and 2 were servicing the cabin. Flight Attendants 1 and 2 each saw Selby outside of his pants again. This was erect and he was masturbating. Flight attendant 2 told Selby no. Selby covered his penis. The lead flight attendant came to Selby's seat and told him he was going to be arrested. So, I mean, you shouldn't do this on an airplane. If you got to whip it out, go to the bathroom. A short time later, flight attendant 1 saw Selby's penis out of his pants a third time. The lead flight attendant handed Selby an FAA violation card. This is a notice that states that a passenger's behavior appears to be in violation of federal law. Selby replied, "I'm sorry." I mean, at least he's not a dick about it. Pardon my French. Sorry, I'm getting the giggles a little bit. At the request of the flight attendant, Selby moved to the seat rear of the plane and was seated next to 2 travel companions who agreed to monitor his behavior. When Selby initially stood up to move seats, a jar of Vaseline dropped to the side. Anyway, once seated by his companion, Selby told the security guard that he was bugging and messed up and he was very sorry. He engaged in no additional acts of exposure or masturbation during the flight. At the end of the flight, Selby apologized to Airbus staff. So, I mean, here's the thing. He apologized. So his behavior, so he whipped it out. And if you know these these Delta One, they're kind of private. I mean, in a sense, because no other passengers would have seen him in all likelihood. But he should have just had a blanket. When Flight 120 arrived in Minneapolis, Selby was detained and taken to a conference room at Terminal 1 in this Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, where I interviewed him. So the interview was audio recorded, and I began the interview by providing Selby a Miranda warning. So he's in custody, there's interrogation, so you have to initiate the Miranda warning. I asked what had happened, and he said he was returning after performing in Japan, where he didn't really get much cootie. As a result, he said he was brick hard when he got on the plane. Okay, he should have worn my Stop Self-Snitching hat. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Hang on a second. Okay. Selby said that on the plane he saw a real great, beautiful lady, and I just kind of showed her the magic stick. He confirmed that the magic stick was referring to his penis, and then he said the beautiful lady was a female flight attendant with red hair. That fit the physical description of the flight attendant number 2. I asked if he took his penis out on purpose. So he said, yeah, she was turning me on. He said he exposed himself because I didn't have anything in like a week, which I understood to mean that he had not had sex in about a week. I asked if he thought his actions interrupted the flight attendant's work, and he said, I thought I was giving her encouragement to keep pushing, what I meant, striving for it. What the hell? Let's see. Selby said that one of the flight attendants told him, you can't do that on a flight. Kids might walk past. But when I asked Selby if he exposed himself a second time, he said, yeah, I have to do it twice. Once for flight attendant 2 and once for her friend. Oh my God. Can't make this up. Selby described a friend as a female flight attendant with long blonde hair, which fit the physical description of flight attendant number 1. I asked Selby if he was under the influence. He said no. Selby said that he had been prescribed medicine in Thailand, and he showed me medications bearing labels from Bangkok Hospital. He said he had not taken the medicine prior to exposing himself on the airplane. He'd only taken vitamins. Selby did not appear to be impaired. He appeared to understand all my questions, which he answered with coherent responses. So there we go. So, I laugh because it is kind of a funny event, and the way it's described, he just didn't get any cootie. It's pretty funny. But if he's suffering from some medical, or if he's suffering from any kind of mental health issue, which clearly he's got some boundary issues, I hope he's getting some help. And this is the right thing to do. If he checked himself into a hospital, trying to figure out his deal, it's a misdemeanor. So it's 90 days in jail is all he's looking at. And I doubt if he's even looking at that, because he's taking care of the problem, if there is a problem. And he was cooperative and not belligerent. I'd rather see somebody like this, to be honest with you, if I'm a judge or if I'm a prosecutor, or if I'm even somebody on the airplane. I'd rather see somebody cuffing their carrot than somebody getting violent on the airplane. So this is just our so he'll appear in court. They issued this by summons, not by warrant. And so I'm sure they just released him right then and there. This is here in our hometown. So he will come back here to Minneapolis, appear right across the street, and hopefully it'll be just a blip on his radar screen. I wish, I know I made light of this, and it is funny when you read it. I mean, read his statement and the things that he told the agent. But it's not funny if somebody's suffering from some kind of mental health issue. And so I just wish him the best, and hope this thing just kind of gets, fly private next time. So that's our little reaction to the Desiigner and his woes that he's facing here in Minneapolis. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Patreon. We're doing some good stuff there. We'll see you next time on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?